Several hundred miles north of San Francisco, California, is a curtain, a redwood curtain. Today, we shall go behind the veil of fog and forest. This tri-county region of Mendocino, Humboldt, and Trinity counties are known as the Emerald Triangle. To the east of the town of Arcata is a special part of the nation we locals call God's Country. In the community of Willow Creek, California, home of Bigfoot and some of Humboldt County's best cannabis cultivators, is a foot of the Rainbow Bridge, a connection of the islands of Hawaii and the home we call Humboldt County. Today on Lurking with Attitude, we explore the Aloha state of mind behind the redwood curtain. Aloha kia kua.
Aloha! How it do today? And Kmar here with episode 14. It's our 14th episode, and I have a guest with us today that I am so humbled to have here. Linsey Jones from Aloha, Humboldt. Aloha!
Aloha, how's it going?
Oh, wonderful. I'm happy that you're here today, and I'm excited to have another heritage farmer on the program discussing the exciting dynamics of what's going on.
It's fun to be here. I brought some of our flour that we have on the market right now. We've got some white Tahoe cookies and ice cream cake and lava cake. And we can discuss some terpenes and just hang out.
Amazing. Can you believe this spread we're having? We're going to consider this episode a Thanksgiving episode or edition. I think we have so much to give thanks and praise for that I know that we're going to let this come out to you on Thanksgiving instead of our normal Sunday time, so that we can pause and give reverence to our wonderful lives that we have. I'm, as I said already, humble that you're here, but so grateful that we have such a community that is actually supporting what we're doing, and we're finding common denominators that reside with all of us, and that is good intent and a pure heart and gratitude for this wonderful industry and medicinal quality of cannabis.
We have a wonderful community. I would say part of the best part of legalization has been the connection in the community and being able to come together and work towards a common goal of supporting independent producers. And we have some amazing farmers in the Emerald Triangle, and we just have this ethos that a lot of independent producers share of wanting to support each other, which is such a wonderful thing.
I agree. I didn't even know the magnitude of the connections that are occurring prior to discovering them. And so it's really a wonderful unfolding thousand petal lotus that I'm learning so much from. People such as yourself. Why don't you start by telling us about your history entering and being in the cannabis industry?
Okay, well, the cannabis industry was something that just integrated naturally into mine and my husband's life and our community's lives. I can't remember a time in my adult life where I wasn't cultivating cannabis. It's been an integral part of my entire life. From the time that I started smoking cannabis at 16, I was drawn to grow my own and to provide it for friends and family, because I saw just such a positive influence from cannabis, not only in social aspects, but for many healing different reasons and relaxation and recreation in general. It just brings people together and is a wonderful catalyst.
Yeah, I'm sure. So you have been at your farm now for how many years?
So, well, my husband and I, just rewinding way, way back, we are both from Michigan. So I'm from the southwest side of the state, and he's from the Detroit area, Ryan. And so we met in a town called Kalamazoo, and it's a college town. But he and I were both living in the college town and cultivating cannabis in basements. It's fun to be able to actually discuss that now because it's something that we had to hide for so long. We knew that it was, not the safest, and so we transitioned to move to Colorado after he finished luthier school. So he was learning how to make guitars
Wow, amazing.
when we met, and he plays bass, and so we have this music community, and a few of the people that he played music with moved to Arcata in the mid 90s.
Mm.
And so we had that initial draw to come out to Arcata because of the music and community there. But we took a little stopover in Colorado because the mountains are beautiful, and we,
Sure, you're
we
glad.
had other friends that moved from Michigan at the same time to be in Colorado. We were there for almost a year, but there wasn't enough water, and it was really extreme. You get these crazy swings in temperature, and it was a drought year, so it was really difficult to cultivate, and our plants weren't thriving, and we had more of a community in Arcata. So we transitioned out to Arcata after that, and we grew indoor for the longest time. We used to grow octagons
Mm.
because you could have a 10 by 10 space,
Mhm.
and so we could have 99 plants in the octagon space, and have a great harvest from a really small space. And after a while, it just wasn't that sustainable, and we, being from a Midwest state,
Mhm.
we were both craving having seasons. So being on the coast, it's this perpetual spring
Sure.
and fall, and you don't have those,
Right.
the winter and the
Right.
hot summer. So we found a spot in Willow Creek,
Uh-huh.
and we started growing outside in '08 in Willow Creek, and we were in the valley. So we had just a really unique microclimate near the Trinity River, and we grew our 99 plants and had our collective, and did that up until 2016. And we were able to get our property, which was about 45 minutes outside of Willow Creek. We are up Friday Ridge Road in the mountains, and we're at the very, very top of the mountain. So we're at like 2,600 elevation. So it's a big difference from growing in the valley. But that's where we've transitioned, and so now we've been there for 4 years, 4 seasons, which is such a short time. Thinking about what strains and which cultivars love to be on our mountain. What strain is going to thrive in the valley isn't necessarily going to thrive at 2600 elevation. So we've been working on our selections, and after 4 years, we're getting the hang of what wants to be on our mountain. Thanks to our neighbors and our friends that are in the similar situation.
And we discussed this with Carl Wilson from Florida Vita Gardens in episode 11. And he was the one that originally told me that he had received information from you with a phone call about what you guys are doing with the appellation in Willow Creek. And I think that that's now transferring over into other areas like where Carl and Nick Erickson and a lot of other excellent farmers are. Out there on the Highway 36. Tell me a little bit about the Willow Creek Alliance, because I'm not as familiar with it as I should be, and I'm sure everybody is interested in all of that.
So the Willow Creek Cannabis Alliance, we've been meeting for over a year and a half now. We were formed from a smaller group of people that really wanted to do community outreach. I think the first thing that the group did was create a brochure pamphlet for people coming through and working. So it gave the resources of, lodging, camping, bus schedule, the clinic hours and things like that. And also discussed that most of the farmers have to work with a licensed facility now. So it's shifted the way that people can come through and find work. So Willow Creek especially has had a huge influx of international people coming through and looking for work. And that's, part of the culture to have, people come in and help in the fall. And with legalization, it's really transitioned the legal farms being able to support that community. So we wanted to find a way to make that connection and give people their resources and give back to the community, because there's a lot of older people in the community that it was reflecting poorly on those farmers that were trying to be very professional. And there's a lot of great players out there formed. The Willow Creek Cannabis Alliance started to form different subcommittees.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt.
No,
Do you
you're
think
good.
I could try some of your marijuana?
Oh, you should, yeah.
I would love to.
Here, well, this, let's try the Tahoe cookies here.
Okay.
You should check it out.
Okay, I would love to.
This is one of the pre-rolls that we...
I feel color coordinated with your packaging today.
You are. They match your pants perfectly.
This is so fun, you guys. Thank you so much again for
Absolutely.
coming. And this is just amazing that you can share all of this with me and our public. I am so grateful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
This
So
is amazing
the
packaging.
Tahoe cookies is really special to me. It was the cultivar that we received doing the grow off in 2018. And I got the clone directly from Kevin Jodrey at Wonderland, One Log House. And it has just such a wonderful, it's a beta caryophyllene, humulene, and it also has a touch of linalool and limonene. And for me, it works really well for me. It's really relaxing, anti-inflammatory, pain relieving, or supports pain relief, and it's just great for relaxation.
Wonderful. Yeah, well, I will definitely take a recommended dosage of this. I will probably not smoke too much of it because I want to take photos of the jar nice and full to put into the video.
Absolutely.
So I'll take a hit now, but I'll definitely spark a pre-roll.
Yeah, this is the pre-roll too. You'll have to check it out.
What have you got there?
This is the White Tahoe Cookies pre-roll.
Oh, okay. Well, great.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to put this in my chalice here.
If you want to do either
No,
way.
I would like to smoke a joint.
Okay,
That sounds
check it
great.
out.
I didn't know that we had a pre-roll of both.
Well,
Okay.
and so for me, I really love to share the pre-rolls. It's important that they get to market quickly, because as soon as you grind up the flower, you're going to start to lose terpenes unless it's sealed off. So I always like to keep mine sealed and, use them right away.
These are just lovely.
Ryan and I made those. Made that one ourselves. So we work with up North Humboldt, and we've worked with the Sun Growers Guild to roll our joints before, but we have the future roller machine.
That up north is coming up in almost every episode. They are seemingly really working well with everyone.
Yeah, it's a local company. They have a wonderful team. They're super professional. I can't say enough great things about them.
Carl said that he was able to have a discussion about genetics with them for over an hour and just knew that he was locked in with what they had going on there.
They're focused on quality. It's really important to, if you're going to put the flower in your brand and have it represent your farm, you want to make sure that you're working with a distributor that values getting it to market quickly.
I want to give thanks for your efforts in rolling and growing, and you mentioned when I asked you what you enjoyed about your career that it's really more a lifestyle than a career.
Yeah, it definitely is more of a lifestyle. I think that anyone that is looking for a career that's not been in cannabis before is going to have a rude awakening because it's not simple. Is quite challenging, and to maintain and to stay in the market, it takes a lot of heart and hard work and passion for the plant, because there's no clear roadmap of how to succeed. We're just figuring it out as we go, and oftentimes it's a roller coaster of faith and doubt. But overall, if you work really hard and you have a clear vision of what you want in the future, I think that it's clear that there's a place for the independent producer, that people will start to value craft. And, in general, in agriculture, small producers don't thrive. It's not farming is not the career that you select when you're trying to succeed in a financial level, if you're trying to do small scale quality. But when it is your lifestyle, like us, I've been growing since for more than half of my life, since I was 16, and it's been my primary focus for many things, for healing and for my financial stability, which has been a challenge since 64. But I think connecting with other people in our community gives me hope and makes me want to persevere, because there are a lot of like-minded people that have the same long-term vision of supporting craft and highlighting the unique different regions that we have in the Emerald Triangle that have these amazing legacy producers. In my opinion, and I think it's very true, that the value that we have with these craft producers comes from generations, decades of shared knowledge, and being willing to discuss what's working, what's not, what cultivars are thriving, and that's something that maybe is foreign to any other commodities market. You don't want to give away your special sauce. You don't want to tell people all of the things that you're doing to succeed, because you're in competition with each other in that space. And so in legalization, I think that it has been challenging, but I think it's opening the doors of wanting to be supportive of our communities. I hope to see, and I think there is a movement where people see that that it's not benefiting anyone to have a divided space, that it really is going to benefit our community as a whole to work together as independent producers, and to see it as
You mentioned what's working and what's not, and challenges with Prop 64. Would you mind addressing what some of those have been?
Well, I would say the strict guidelines of compliance originally felt like a real barrier to entry, and were, just financially speaking, jumping through all of the hoops of compliance was definitely what made it so a lot of people couldn't make it through the hoops in general. You know, the remediation and the roads and things like that were definitely difficult. And I would say at this point, once you make it through the hoops, metric is a real conundrum. Just for me, on an environmental stand, having to put a plastic tag with RF code in each tag, you are then having this waste product that with every single plant that you can't reuse again. And I think it's just crazy. So, you have to enter every plant. You have to then weigh it wet. You have to weigh all the waste. It's unnecessarily cumbersome for small producers. I know that HCGA is working on some policy efforts for 2021, and hopefully we'll be able to move towards getting batch tags. And when you just think of the sheer volume of one greenhouse potentially having 900, 1,000 plants in it, and these tags are not small.
Right.
And so at the end of your harvest, and you're pulling all of them off and then retagging it as a batch, you're keeping those tags, but you end up with totes of this plastic at the end of the year. So especially for someone that's growing, outside, trying to leave as small of a carbon footprint as possible, and work with the environment, putting all of this plastic back into landfills, or just not being able to reuse it, has been a real challenge for me, and I know for a lot of farmers. And it's like a whole nother full-time job to have to deal with all of that.
I found a new software. So a company had contacted me called Trim.io.
I've heard of Trim, yeah.
And so I'm kind of referring a few people to them that are struggling with the metric.
Yeah, the waste has been the biggest challenge for me. I am so grateful that I have Shannon Hughes of Humboldt Conscious Consulting, and she is just my metric guru.
Nice. Beautiful.
She is definitely very
your
helpful.
medicine. This is all right. Well, I would like to find out how you went from your journey from Michigan to California through Colorado, but eventually going with your branding and that lifestyle. I think that would be interesting to hear how you chose what you have.
Well, the lifestyle choices in the island lifestyle and then in the cannabis culture are really similar. I think that when I consider all of the nature and the way that people are connected to the land in both cultures, it really resonated with me. Just appreciating taking time to slow down, being more present, connecting more with your family, your community, the land in general. That was the really big draw to choosing the name Aloha. Like I mentioned, we started growing outside in 2008, and at that point we had only been growing inside. And you just have this control, you can control everything inside.
Can I see the jar? What's the name?
Yeah, well, this is where our logo started. So it was originally a mandala that my friend Taylor drew, and come to find out, it is really challenging to print an intricate mandala on anything except for having it as art. So
Wow.
We simplified it down to more of a flower, and then we've got the intertwined triangles and the hexagon, and now we have it a lot more simplified now, to just make it a lot more readable and smaller.
Uh-huh.
It still kept a lot of those same components, just not quite as intricate.
Is it okay to open it up and see?
Yeah. This is also the White Tahoe cookies.
That seems like one of your favorites. What are your favorites, and
Well, right now I have really been
and why?
Well, I've been really appreciating the White Tahoe cookies for some time now. I try to branch out, but I think that it's important that when people find a strain that works well for them, it's nice if you have the ability to be able to recreate that experience. I have, the luxury of being able to always grow my own and always be able to smoke my own cannabis. And so I always choose to have a supply of that for myself.
Do you smoke differently if you decide to throughout the day and at night?
Yes, I really do. I think that in the evening, I really prefer. I like to smoke very light in the evening. I like to smoke maybe a little bit more during the day, and helps me focus and be more productive personally. So, especially if it's the right strain. And then in the evenings, I've been smoking some papaya punch. It definitely is has a more sedative quality for me, and the blueberry cookies as well.
We also brought some lava cake and ice
Yeah.
cream cake.
You should open
I'm
it
so
up. Check it
interested
out.
about, let's talk about like maybe the genetics on the Tahoe cookies first.
Okay, yeah. So it is the Tahoe OG times Girl Scout cookies, and I believe that this was a strain that was pheno hunted at Wonderland under Kevin Jodrey. And it's like so many great strains that he's put out.
Well, it is so neat that you know the absolute particulars about what it is that you're growing, and now mapping for its optimum environments and so forth. That's really what's going on with the appellation.
Yeah. Well, so there's when you're thinking about appellations, there's
We'll come
a
back
lot
to
that
talking
goes
about the
into it.
products, because I definitely don't want to skip over that. But
Yeah. I would say it is important to discuss with your neighbors and people in your microclimate what cultivars are thriving, because you need to take a lot of things into. That's what I'm looking for. Sorry.
consideration.
Yeah, into consideration. You do.
And was it really like that as much prior to legalization, and like everyone being able to kind of come out from behind a curtain? Or do you see that, it seems to me that there's this progression where there's transparency and an open dialogue that maybe wasn't as prevalent prior to what's really going on now.
Yeah, I think that with legalization, there's been some fine tuning of different cultivars that you're now able to get that are coming from tissue culture. And so then you're assured that the plants that you're getting don't have any viruses. They're going to be vigorous and grow really well, and not have any things that are going to slow them down that would just be poor health. We're seeing a lot more of that with the hemp industry being so close by, and there's the hop latent viroid that is really prevalent in cannabis right now, and it just is it's difficult to detect unless you're testing all of your plants. And so I think that it is really nice to be able to look at what's working for other people. I don't think that there was a lack of that sharing before legalization, but I do think that there's a way to just use more of a scientific approach to it, and look at the tissue culture and actually test your plants to make sure that when you're moving forward, you're using healthy plants.
I know the pivot.
And every farm is different. I think that, everything can look great on paper, but if you don't go out and try it, I think the experience is everything. You have to see if, and every season is different. So, we could have another drought year, and it could be that people are able to continue flowering into, well into November. But if it rains, then it could change that whole dynamic of, what's going to work in the late season.
We got kind of fortunate with the rains and the season, and everybody got their work finished before
Yeah.
it really.
Yeah.
It didn't really arrive till this past week.
Yeah, we need more. It will be really good. It looks like we have some in the forecast.
But everybody, I think, got their work done before we got some heavy rains.
Oh,
Well,
you want to check out the ice cream cake?
Sure.
Okay, so the ice cream cake is actually the strain that we're releasing on the Up North menu this coming week.
That's exciting. Your products are
one of the,
available here locally.
They are, yep, we are at most of the local dispensaries. At any given week, we are trying to release
your story's making me smile here on the side of the box. Wow, how wonderful. You give a really nice mission right on the package.
Thanks.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I'm
State of
I'm
Mind.
stoked
We celebrate
to
the
have
connections
that on
between
there.
cannabis culture in the Emerald Triangle and the Aloha culture of the Hawaiian Islands, encouraging you to enhance and elevate your well-being by experiencing nature and the intimate relationships we share with plants and our earth. Aloha kia kua. That's what Carl said at the end of the show. What does that mean?
Aloha keakua, it's like a namaste. It's like I see the divinity.
I sent you last night, Satnam, very similar. Grown with love, Aloha Humboldt's estate family farm is nestled in the dense forests of northeastern Humboldt on the mountaintop overlooking the Trinity Alps. Owners Linsey and Ryan Jones have been cultivating cannabis together since 1998. With their extensive experience, they give each plant individual attention and care. Aloha Humboldt craft cannabis is grown using environmentally friendly and sustainable farming practices. Environmentally conscious, sun-grown craft cannabis. Wow, I mean...
Thanks for that.
Well, thank you for this. I think that it's humbling to me that I have connected with the craft masters, and that you are all allowing me to help. I don't know if it's help, but just to be a part of the consciousness of the heritage and culture that, I just don't really know that people buying products on a retail shelf know about the efforts that are given throughout the year to grow this medicine. And the pleasure and passion and of joy that the cultivators have for what they are watching be given as a gift to them to give to others, and the full cycle of the medicinal aspect of this plant. It seems like ancient wisdom to me is all. I get humbled to be a part of presenting and sharing really with
Well, it's humbling to be able to cultivate the plant in the space that we are now. We've come so far from where we were when we were hiding, and still doing what we're doing now, but at a smaller scale, and not being able to reach nearly as many people.
Are you weighing this up and putting this in the jar and folding the box and doing all of this up at home?
We are able to weigh and do eighths and pre-rolls and half ounces and whatever packaging we would like on our farm, and we did that for a long time. This
Are
is
you
actually,
outsourcing now, finally?
This is actually
Wonderful.
a package that was done at Up North.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of great people on their team, and we're sure grateful for them. They have stellar quality control, and like I said, just super professional, and understanding of the market and the needs, and keeping things fresh and coming out with high quality. The other aspect of being able to work with someone like that it's just so important, is to be able to flux when needed, and to not put out too much of one strain, and just understanding, being able to package it at to when you need it, instead of packaging a full 50 pounds. And you can even just twist it, and it has a perforation that it'll break clean at the edge.
Yeah, I just like to keep it that way.
And it's
It's too pretty.
Thank you.
I want to be able to put it back on.
And they've always had a SKU where we really want to have between 3 and 5 pieces in the eighths, because we want to make sure that there's larger buds in our eighths, and then if we have smaller pieces, we'll use it for our pre-rolls and for our half ounces.
Nice. Well, here's a nice picture of that. And wow, looks lovely. I'm assuming an indica?
It is, yes, it is, and it is really the strain that I think was grown most. From what I've seen, it was a very common strain this year, and it's nice to see the differences and similarities in the different ice cream cakes that are coming out of the different regions. And we kind of touched on appellations, and I think appellations it's a long game. It's something that is going to take development, first community organization, and then you have to prove your quality before you can try to have a higher value for the product. I think that showing your quality is going to be paramount to create that consumer and customer loyalty and recognition. But I think sooner that regional marketing is something that will really make a difference in Humboldt. You don't have to, regional marketing. Think Bordeaux or Kona coffee or Colombian coffee, or, there's many different regions in France, but also Napa. Napa has done wonderful things with tourism. Just like, tourism, I think, will be wonderful for many parts of the Emerald Triangle with a closer proximity to the city, when that's appropriate again. And then just recognizing the unique microclimates in the different regions. And as the farmers are able to showcase what's working well in their region, they'll be able to highlight those certain cultivars that do really well in that area. And then as the craft consumer will start to recognize that, maybe the ice cream cake that's coming out of Honeydew is slightly nuanced from the ice cream cake that's coming out of the mountains in the Willow Creek area. And I think that that's something that people with an elevated palate will want to check out and recognize. Fascinating.
I mean, there are so many different, there's the ice cream cake, there's the wedding cake, there's these wedding crashers.
Lots of desserts.
Yes, what's with the desserts? I mean, I understand it is as much of a treat as a dessert.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different varietals that you can
I'm going to try a little of the ice cream cake now.
Yeah, check it out. There's the earthiness that's in the Tahoe cookies that doesn't necessarily resonate to me as just being a dessert. It's a very complex makeup in all of these different cakes and cookies and things like that, that it's not just sweet. It's peppery, it's got the floral, it's got the citrus.
It gets confusing to me. I'm almost just like, at a certain point, I'm almost like...
It's a vast array of different genetics in the cakes and cookies, and I think it's important to remember that just because it has a cake name or a cookie's name doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to taste sweet and creamy. I would say the White Tahoe cookies to me taste much more earthy and peppery than sweet and creamy. And
that's where the subtle differences that
and each season
in
is
someone
different when
that
it's outdoor.
does smoke. How do you smoke joints? Do you take a little puff on a pipe? Do you
I always
take
have a
long
bubbler.
rips? Do you?
Yeah, I do. I like to have I was always having my double bubbler around, and then I think I I left it in my husband's truck, and then I think it got absorbed up on the mountain. But no, I like to smoke out of
What kind of,
water pipe.
What kind of personnel do you have assisting you?
As far as like admin or
well,
like
no.
on the farm?
Yeah, on the farm.
On the farm, yeah, we have Brian is our farm manager with Ryan, and beyond that, we've had some other dark staffing.
Ryan
people.
and Brian.
Ryan and Brian.
They just crush it.
Ryan is my husband, and then Brian is our farm manager,
Uh-huh.
and they are hardcore. And I think there was a point this summer where I don't think that Ryan had left the mountain for about 5 weeks. And you know there were runs to town, but during harvest it's pretty full on. You know, 16-hour days. You're cutting down plants. You're manning.
And so you're
cure.
you're running admin.
Yeah, I'm on the farm more in the spring. It's easier for me to be up there when the plants are smaller.
As you put it, I guess that's what it would be.
Yeah,
Administration.
yeah. Oh, and I'm doing all of the paperwork and the sales and branding and marketing. And you know, social media and things.
Amazing. Did Up North help you with this, or was this your?
It's had a long progression. We touched on the logo, and then I worked with my friend Joel, who really helped fine tune the mandala into a digital piece of artwork with our logo. And then Shiloh of Graphic Heart Designs really just held my hand the whole time, and I think that we did over 2,000 emails back and forth getting the packaging to where it is now.
Amazing.
And
Amazing
it's had a few different incarnations. Now we've got the
I love it.
the turquoise teal box, and we're
I really
shifting
like that.
to
I noticed that
a
obviously
cooler color.
going on.
Yeah. It's
You had.
it should be relaxing.
I'm so blown away that you brought these brims, and thank you so much for this. This is fantastic.
Absolutely.
I've got a large selection.
These all were printed in Kihei in Maui. So we
Really?
found this company called Double Portion Supply back in 2005. And started to, think about what we would have for merch. And everyone has, shirts and things like that. But I thought that having hats would be really fun.
I love it. Look at this wonderful selection. Oh my goodness. I love it.
The larger words, that's a nod to the Esky flavor, which is a company that's out of the Hawaiian Islands. They have the very large words, Aloha and Mahalo and things like that on their hats.
Love that. Just love that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I have some things. Let's talk about what's going on here.
Okay, well, we had discussed, a little bit about the market and how things are flowing with the products now. I think on a past episode, maybe you touched on THC percentage and how it's really become this way that buyers quantify quality. Is the higher the THC, the higher the quality must be.
Well, it's like this one here says 22.65 THC, and I know the other one that I had here was just over 20. So, this is a good example. Let's talk about a couple of things here while we're on this topic. Number one is, because one says here, let's see, where'd it go on here? I don't see it on this one. It must have been the other box. This one here says 20.27. So this one's just over 20%, which apparently is the minimum.
Well, it is at this point.
Even though
it's
this
pretty
one's
important for sales.
22.6, I may find that I like this one better than this one. It's just for not necessarily the THC content. And the second part of that question is what you were speaking about when we were talking about the bottle of wine and the percentage of alcohol in it. And,
right.
and
well, I like to use the analogy of fine wine with craft cannabis.
So we've talked a little bit about your farm life. You mentioned your husband, and so I assume that you have a family life as well.
Yes. We have a 3-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 15-year-old. Phoenix is 15, and she's at Arcata High School. And then Cameron is 12, and he's going to Creekside, which is a charter school in Willow Creek. And then our 3-year-old is my little buddy, and she goes everywhere with us. So from there, we have, I have an office now in Arcata, and we have our farm, which is about 2 hours from our office. And so there's a pretty big commute, but it's been really great to have the home base at both places for our family. And especially because our 15-year-old does ballet, and so she has 5 days a week of ballet in Eureka, and she has been doing that since she was 3. So it's not 5 days a week when she was younger, but it's a lot of traveling. So it's a gypsy lifestyle.
Sounds like you hit the ground running.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, and then so the farm life and family life, and we also mentioned your activity in the community. What else has branched from the cannabis industry in directions that wouldn't have otherwise?
Well, we touched on the Willow Creek Cannabis Alliance, and while we mentioned a little bit about the different subcommittees, a big part of what we've been doing recently is talking about how we can, as a community, work together to educate more on the craft. And so in the spring, we had a group of 12 different branded farms, and we developed this event focused on appreciation for the consumer interfacing members of the industry, which are bud tenders. And they are the people that are the ones that are being able to tell our story to the consumer themselves. So it is very important that we acknowledge that those people that are out there talking to the consumers are able to properly understand craft and understand where our Emerald Triangle farmers are coming from, to appreciate that it is a smaller sector. It's not a commodity. We're working as family farms, most of us. And so because of COVID, we weren't able to hold our event. We will revisit it. It was planned to be at the Humboldt Bay Social Club. And so it's actually a really wonderful space that we'll be able to integrate into, having it with, all of the proper measures we'll need to take. I think that waiting to see how Tim Blake will pull off the Emerald Cup will be a big step in how I think a lot of events will move forward. I know there's a few that have successfully had people in a conference style arena, but I don't think that our small community is ready for something like that quite yet. So we're waiting. We're being really aware of our community and bringing in all of the caution necessary before we come back together like that.
Do you see the potential for it being a positive, to having its positive aspects in regrouping, or?
Absolutely.
Do you think that, like as we spoke about the challenges in Prop 64 and revisions, I mean, is there a way to have an impact in legislature?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the moment is now. Now is the time. All of the 3 different branches of cannabis regulation are consolidating into one branch. And so HCGA has been very focused on being involved, and a lot of other trade associations are working towards helping make the proper recommendations when the consolidation is happening. It's really great to see people that are so passionate about making this positive change, because I think with the consolidation of the 3 branches, there isn't a better time to try to make a change. And, it's a lot of policy and politics, but HCGA really supports the cultivator. I know they have a huge membership at this point, and I always feel like I'm walking away from our industry calls understanding better where we're at in the current market, and I really appreciate connecting with other industry members on the Slack channel and just being able to really stay informed and current on where policy is. It's been a really great experience with HCGA.
Slack channel.
It's like a networking channel where there's different topics that are discussed, policy for the county and state, appellations, different, just in general things that are going on. Most recently, HCGA did a marketing assessment for Humboldt County with the Measure S is the trellis funding. And so Humboldt County has done this amazing thing to be able to give back cultivator money to the community to promote our industry. Are you familiar with Project
Yes,
Trellis?
a little bit, but where we're going to get the information is from one of the grant recipients.
Wonderful.
It'll be episode 16. We're going to have
Awesome.
Season from Five Sisters Farm.
Awesome. Just seeing how inspiring it's been to have people consistently meet and care and want to affect the community in a positive way and work together. But I know that we're just barely scratching the surface of where we can have the outreach, and we're doing some outreach where we can to get our community involved. It's been a real challenge to not be able to meet in person. We are still meeting and doing virtual meetings on Zoom. It's just not the same kind of outreach that we're able to do as farmers. People are not as interested as they would be to be able to meet in person to sit on Zoom. It just seems to me that
it's been a way to have a collective consciousness for people that are all on the same page. It's almost given people enough time to slow down to do this properly, or the way that it's getting established.
True. Yeah, I mean, it definitely, the slowing down and not being able to meet in person, it gave us time to look at our bylaws and do all of these, boring things that you have to do with organization. That it took some time, but I feel like at this point we're really ready to have an organized cooperative movement forward with each subcommittee, and then hopefully show all of these other smaller regions that really what we did with very little funds, with the support of some other leaders in the community like Natalie DeLapp. She was very helpful in just the formation of our mutual benefit corporation, looking at our bylaws and reviewing things like release of liability and things like that. And then just realizing that when you do have that community organization, there are things like emergencies, like the fires. You can have a network of a phone tree or like a nest where people can then communicate that there is an emergency, and then everyone can work together and know, like in southern Humboldt, where the farmers were able to go back to their farms. And I would like to say that it was
some water?
Thanks. It was a great network of people that made that happen to let farmers be able to go back in, water their plants, and then leave the evacuation zone in the evening.
That seemed to be a very complicated process because you had to get a daily permit, and people that were unable to provide proper documentation weren't even allowed to get back to their properties.
Such a tough one.
So our water is brought to you by our sponsor, our show sponsor, New World Water in Arcata. Of course, Ian's been here as a guest. I think that was episode 8. And are you familiar with New World Water and Casey and Ian.
Yes,
and
yes,
those
I
folks.
am actually. Our eldest, Phoenix, 15, is dating Aya of Aya's New World Water.
How
they
ironic.
have,
That's amazing.
yeah, they're
I'm,
sophomores together at
I'm
Arcata High
amazed
School.
at the closed circuit, and that when I'm finding that somebody's
It's a
been on the
small
show
Humboldt.
is here. Yes, it seems to be a family effort. Um, so the other guests that have been here have you been in contact with and recommended you to me, um, and then our next guests coming along, we're having some of the most empowered females in the industry that I think have got to be at the pinnacle of the wisdom and knowledge and ethics and etiquette, and I really feel it's coming through. I really think that it wouldn't be the same without y'all.
There's a great community of people that are really passionate about what we're doing, and I think that a lot of us have a long-term vision to be here and to support our community in a multi-generational sense. I feel like a lot of us have the vision to sustain and work through these growing pains and just continue with the culture that we've been living for decades and generations and make it better. And I think that a big part of what we're doing will hopefully create a connection for others to be more mindful, to maybe take some more ownership of our earth. I feel like we're living in such a society that is somewhat, self-centered, very possessive of mine and property and things that are, owned. And I think that with cannabis, being able to try to remember that it's not just the earth that we're on, that it's our earth that we're on, and take some more ownership of our earth, that hopefully this next generation and the younger people will be able to make a really major difference quickly. They have access to just such fast technology and being able to just spread it so quickly. So I think that what we're doing, it's not just this, industry. I think that it's a movement of people trying to get the culture to reconnect. And I think that that's a difficult thing to do when you're looking at a plant that's grown inside. I think there's a beautiful craft to growing indoor as well. I do think that as climate change becomes more and more apparent, that working with a more environmentally sound framework, such as growing it in the ground, growing with the sun, it just connects you back to the earth in a way that not a lot
Think of
of.
the
All right,
word to
so
go with
should
dinner.
So
What
should
is
we
the word?
cut this?
What are the
Okay.
what are the dinners?
This is a flourless chocolate tort. We have been Ryan and I have been doing dinners in San Francisco and LA, where
What?
the flour is paired with a different course based on the terpene profile.
I want to
so
try.
It's really fun. So I would recommend for this, which is a recipe that you can find on our website. It's best paired with the White Tahoe cookies, because the White Tahoe cookies is such a
Oh,
spicy.
let me get that one then.
It's a more robust, strong flavor, earthy, spicy.
Can I take one from the jar?
Yeah, please do. I would say pairing it with something that has also an equally matching bold flavor is a fun way to.
So you're actually
experience
putting
it.
the taste of the cannabis with the food as
Yes.
a complementary
And wine.
thing, just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so if you look at our website, we have things that you can print out that, and I also think that it's noteworthy that people want to be able to recreate their experience. And so we have different tasting notes that you can, review the different terpenes, look at what we're actually working with a wine sommelier named Jamie Evans, and she writes all of the descriptions for our cannabis.
Oh,
so
you know, and I have always
she'll sample it. And
I have thought about how challenging that really is.
It's an
you
art.
know, if you were even trying to
Yeah.
be a bud tender, it's a skill that you're going to have to really kind of finesse.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's so subjective. I think that it's a lot
that's
of the
another aspect.
descriptions that you'll read online are really hilarious. They've always found a way to throw couch lock in every indica, and you know, in uplifting in every sativa. And I think there's so many complexities to each strain and to each year and vintage and season.
And so you have an expert that can really define nuances.
Yeah, and she does a wonderful job. We paired
that's
with her
outstanding.
at the Naked Kitchen in San Francisco, and we did a 5-course meal, and she
No,
paired each course with a different strain, a different flower strain of ours, and other sponsors. So that's really, it started back in 2018. We paired with a number of wonderful sponsors down in Joshua Tree at the High Dining event. And it was just a real eye-opener to see how you can take the flower and elevate it to this whole other experience where you're pairing it with food, creating an event out of it, and really appreciating the experience of the flower and the food and the wine. And so this one is actually a recipe that I picked up when I was working in restaurants in Kalamazoo. And it's a very simple recipe. It literally has 5 ingredients. It's really simple to make and super fun to make.
And now
because you get to
I
use
could
a
go to your
springform
website
pan.
and be able to make that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No way.
Yeah, it's actually really, really simple. I used
I wanna
local
try.
chocolate, Dick Taylor chocolates. I
They're
used
downtown
some
in
of
Eureka, aren't
theirs.
they?
Yeah, she was actually our midwife for Phoenix, one of the owners. And
Wow, what an amazing...
all of the ingredients are
story.
from Humboldt, and so we should try it with the Cabernet and the White Tahoe cookies.
Okay.
And I think you'll
I'm not
really
afraid.
enjoy it. And it's just a simple fresh whipped cream on top with some berries to offset the richness of the chocolate.
And you were talking about the glasses being representative of...
Well, another really fun thing, when you're done rolling that, you can...
while you can you keep...
Okay, so the...
I get nervous rolling them on camera. My friends all look at them.
Oh, you're doing a great job. The peppercorns
So are you.
represent the beta caryophyllene, and also there's a humulene, and myrcene is often represented by like a peppery, spicy aroma, but it really does.
I'm
it's
in an
really
infancy for
interesting.
learning this information, and so I'm fascinated by it because I do want to know what I'm referring to when I'm experiencing the flavor. I want to know where to put the category of what it is that I'm noticing, and so I'm at a very beginning stage of learning that. But
It's a really fun way to explore. You know, even the most seasoned smoker can appreciate. The differences in the flower, even the same strain, like I said, and some strains are very bright and citrusy, and so you can really identify with the limonene there. And then thinking about like OGs and more fuely strains. When you take a whiff of the rosemary, it is very representative of a lot of different strains. And so I would recommend smelling the flower and then smelling the different, I would say just probably the pepper and the cloves and then the lavender, which represents the linalool. It is very floral, of course, and then smelling the flower, and it's really fun because then you can pick out those different scents. You really can, and then just being able to pair it with the food it's just a fun way to experience it, especially when we're not able to go out and do a lot of things. You can go home and have your your flower and do some baking.
I love it.
It's so important to see other people in this space supporting independent producers. I think that it's inspiring to see the support from our board of supervisors and from other people in the community like yourself that want to highlight people that are, independent and potentially smaller, but that are doing it without investors, without a large budget, and that we're building something, and we're not being bought by someone to do what we're doing. It's just that it's something that we've built over a long period of time.
True. I think that we have a large part in establishing how the rest of this industry's direction will go. I don't know, it just seems to me that this is at a point where foundations can be re-strengthened, we've got a foundation, but reinforcing that foundation so that it is not something that becomes different than the way it is, because the way that it is has resulted from the efforts from people such as yourself in 3 different counties in Northern California that are all flourishing.
For sure. Oh goodness, thank you. This is going to be just amazing. I know it.
Yes.
So, oh wow, this is basically a dessert. Is it infused with any cannabis?
No.
Okay.
The food is not infused with any cannabis. This is just purely paired with the strain based on the, matching the bold flavor in the Tahoe cookies with another very robust flavor. We have also suggested pairing it with things like, red meat. Definitely like a nice hearty red wine would be recommended because it does have a very rich, complex flavor profile. And so you have the White Tahoe cookies pre-roll, and then. Cheers.
Cheers. I am very thankful for this. This is my Thanksgiving, and it's wonderful to share it with everyone, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It was a lot of fun making this. It's been a while. It was really nice to take the time to do it. We've been really lucky to partner with a bunch of...
Wow. When did you make this?
It's fun, huh? I actually made it with my sister yesterday.
This is really amazing. Fun. Does she live in town?
She's up in McKinleyville. Yep. And then actually my brother is neighbors with Carl and Nick off of 36.
That's amazing. I'm finding out
it's so rich.
It is. This is fantastic. I'm overwhelmed. I want to eat the whole thing, but if I eat the whole thing, it'll be gone.
Well, I'm definitely leaving you with some.
My goodness, that is amazing.
And you can make it yourself.
I will. I will definitely try because...
It's so fun to make, too. You have to fold the eggs in, which just means that you're taking the spatula and you're, moving it over. Instead of just stirring it, you're actually just, slowly integrating it in so that it stays aerated. It's pretty fun.
Wow. I'm so stoned on the Tahoe cookies. I might need to rewind that and watch it in the episode to remember what you just said. Oh, this is just great. So I'm just curious, do you have more family than just your sister? Does she have kids? The kids are cousins? Or?
No, I am the oldest of 4. So I brought my sister out when she graduated from high school. I asked her if she would accept a one-way ticket from Michigan. And she came out, yep. And then my brother was out about 3 years after Ryan and I
So
moved here.
this is incredible. I have never
Isn't
I
the
have never
The
indulged.
pairing experience is really fun. You've got
It's amazing. I feel like I've discovered something new. I might not be able to stop.
Well, experiencing great
Oh.
food, great wine.
No, I'm not afraid. This is
and,
good.
And really, the pairings are a next level way to experience cannabis. No, it's not just
It
a
is,
way
you
to
guys. Try this. Go to their website. What is your website?
It's AlohaHumboldt.com.
Mm.
And we have our hats and our recipes and our tasting cards and earrings that I designed with Wood Lab Designs in Arcata. It's laser cut rosewood or birch earrings with our logo.
Well, what's so fun with the thing that I was just talking about a little bit, exposed some folks to a new platform, Lighthouse. We all might want to think about having Lighthouse accounts because it's going to be social media and it's going to be tied into your marketplace. And so anybody coming to look at you like they would on Instagram, now it's funny because Instagram just popped up with Marketplace today. They are really adapting to what's going on other new platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And this lighthouse with 3 eyes has 3 different colors, the red, blue, and green for the different eyes. They ended up incorporating that into their logo, which the red would be like a replacement for YouTube, basically, or a video platform, and then you've got the social media and the marketplace all tied into one and integrated, a little bit segregated when you first on the opening page, but then as soon as you start clicking on stuff, it's all tied together, and then you can do partnerships, and you're involved with partnerships in the cannabis community, aren't you?
Definitely. Collaborations are a great way to support each other in our community. Right now, we are working with, we've worked in the past with Nasha, with Baron of Nasha Extracts, and done hash with Baron. And we're also working with a good friend of mine, Rob, the Humboldt Chirp Council. And we are going to be doing a very small batch of hash with the Dank Duchess early this next year.
Oh, I want to try some.
Mm-hmm. It'll just be a really limited release.
I would like to know about that.
And then beyond that, I am working really diligently to develop a compassion program and certification for people to be able to donate a portion of their trim or flower to make RSO for cancer patients and products. And it's this really cool way that people could give back. It's been a challenge to be able to donate to Compassion with the taxation and the testing. And so just this last year, they made it so that if you're donating to Compassion, you don't have to pay the excise tax. So that has taken that barrier away. But then there's also the barriers of testing. So say, for example, if someone would like to, donate a pound of flour to give to Compassion, they would still have to have that compliance test for that, even as small of a batch. If it was 1 pound, it's the same price as if it was 50 pounds. And perhaps there will be partnerships that we can make with different testing facilities to work on this Compassion program. But the wonderful thing about making concentrates and RSO for donation is that you can create this very large batch, test it under one batch size, and then be able to provide Compassion products for people at a much lower cost. And so my friend Matt Engel and I are discussing ways to develop this program at his new dispensary that will be opening this next year, right in Eureka. And it's called Mocha Humboldt.
Nice.
Yeah, and I studied cannabis therapy consulting under Wendy Reed in Boonville last year, and became a certified cannabis therapy consultant. And I have a few people that I'm working with, but beyond the Cannabis Alliance and other policy things that I'm involved in, the Compassion program has been a really big focus of mine for the last year or so.
Fascinating.
It feels good to get back to the medicinal aspect of the plant when so much of it has been
Well,
made into an industry over the last 3 years.
let's talk about the roles of cultivators in education right now.
Well, I think as far as it goes for craft producers, it is very important to educate on the environmental aspects of sun-grown cannabis. 95% of the cultivation licenses in Humboldt are held by people growing under the sun. Only 5% are indoor and tier 2 mixed light. And that's such a small percentage. And then you look at the 95% of people growing in the sun, and it is our responsibility to educate people on the different complexities of terpenes that are developed in living soil and grown under the sun. And there's something to be said about the swings in temperature and humidity and some stressors that the plant has to experience when it's grown outside. And I know that there's a lot of studies being done, but having those swings is part of what makes each season's flower complex and different. And that's the beauty of having, like wine, a different craft product each year. And some years are more challenging than others, and that's part of the fun.
I'm absolutely astounded. Can you imagine viewers at home with 3 children doing what you do? I mean,
you have to really love the plant and what you do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you find often that its use helps you cope with parenting and stresses of being a business owner. And
I don't know if cope is the right word. I would say more just enhance.
One thing I wonder about is there seems to be different people feelings. What do you think about people that work for you getting stoned during the day on the farm? Do you feel like that's something that can be part of a routine that doesn't disable, or is it something you as an employer discourage in your employees? Are they welcome to get baked if they work on your farm during the day?
I think that every person and every situation is different and takes a different lens of, of course, safety and productivity and making sure that you're having the attention to detail, and with experience I think that you can very easily enhance your work with cannabis.
Yeah, and that's my only point.
Stoned is necessarily the move,
and I think that that's a great an accurate correction, because you don't want to be all fucked up at work. But I'm just saying
if you're
that
just
my
opinion
opinion
down,
is, hey, if that's what picks you up to perform well for the day, it's not like it can be something that's out of the question. But I don't know. I ran into some awkward situations this season where it was really not okay, and I was but it was also a situation where here we are harvesting a medicinal plant that is there to assist with tension, and there was nothing but tension and no one utilizing the medicine. And I was really kind of like, hey, maybe we should all burn one.
We encourage people to be able to be able to smoke and have cannabis.
Oh, I'm just curious, it's not something like you want to condone it, but like at the same time.
No, I definitely do. I smoke all day. I smoke at the beginning of my day. I smoke at the middle of my day. Sometimes I don't smoke at the end of my day as much. Mm-hmm. But
this is so fun.
To each their own, and I think your tolerance level makes such a huge difference on if you can, partake and then be productive. So, if you're not used to smoking, or even if you're used to smoking and it's a new strain, it could affect you in a different way. So I would say...
Well, that was kind of what happened. You know what? I showed up the first day to work there, and a girl that we were harvesting, and she mentioned that she thought she would work better if she was stoned. So
I had a joint. We smoked it, but
Good.
it got her crittered, and she went out for a walk all by
Oh,
herself
no.
for half an hour. Then she disappeared, and they didn't know where they were.
Not as productive then.
So I had no idea. But it's true that, like, when you're working on the hill at harvest time, especially, or whatnot, you can smoke and get your tolerance level up to a point that, like, if you go smoke the way that you smoke with other people that don't smoke regularly.
Well,
put
and
'em
I
under.
think that when you're looking at that, the different terpenes in the strain or the cultivar that you're choosing make a big difference. Because if you're choosing something that is, known to have sedative qualities midday when you're trying to be productive, that you're not aware of how it's going to affect you, then it could be, it could slow you down. But there are, certain strains that are invigorating that will make you feel like you just had some coffee or, and it's different for everyone. Something that I learned in the cannabis consulting course was this word called biphasic. And so biphasic cannabis is going to affect different people differently based on just their experience with cannabis, your tolerance, your set and setting, and so remembering that there's no one set description of a strain for anyone because it's biphasic, it's going to affect you differently than it's going to affect me based on so many different things. And that's the beauty of being able to now experience different strains. Find what works for you. Maybe you can't go into the dispensary and smell it like you used to.
Well, I think for most consumers, they've got to go in and kind of be on a limited budget and say, okay, I'll try
It
some
has
of
to
the...
be affordable.
I really... it's not even that. It's that if most people don't have the luxury to be able to go
Sample.
in and try more than one kind. And
Right.
so... it is a true blessing to at least to do that today.
Totally.
I think that it's a very good suggestion. I think that maybe
Find what works for you,
Mhm.
or at least be able to remember that if you're into learning about terpenes and then you have something that you enjoy,
I want to
you can recognize that in other strains too.
I want to reiterate your efforts here with the explanation. Did you already go through all 5 of these glasses?
Well, I have to give a big thanks to Jamie Evans, the herb som, for the idea of using the wine glasses or champagne flutes here to describe terpenes, because she was the first one that ever showed me this kind of method. But I know that you've had many times in your life where you've had smelled a lemon, but when you smell that and then you go to the jar and then smell the flower, you can really pick up the subtleties in the same terpenes that are present in that strain. And the same goes for all of these. And especially my favorite is the lavender. I really love the linalool. You have to be careful with the cloves. It's very strong.
Misplaced the Tahoe cookies. They're around here somewhere.
Here.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah,
There they are.
there it is. And
This is the funnest thing ever. This is something I could see at a bed and breakfast, or this just is what I feel like I'm.
Well, it's a fun way to educate people about terpenes.
It's amazing
because you can think, okay, it's the limonene, and there's so many citrus forward strains.
I like how uplifting this this exercise is. I've been so baked in some of the other episodes. One of them, I smelled the bowl. The empty bowl. I just caught myself in editing.
You need to have a thing of fresh ground coffee. It'll clear your palate, and then you can smell different things.
Oh, really?
And it's
that's
really
interesting.
good
I did not know that.
Clearing the palate.
Okay.
And then
Wonderful suggestions.
And then the pepper. Try the white pepper with the. I think that the white Tahoe cookies really present some spicy notes.
Yes. But I mean, it's a different way of smelling the ganja. I really feel like this affected my. It stimulated my nostrils in a way that I can smell it differently than I would have just smelling it all by itself. It does give you a comparison.
And it's really fun to try it with different
it's
wines.
like this smells like
too.
lemons a little bit now, but let me try it with a different
We
one.
had a really fruit-forward cherry pie that we paired with a rosé, and it was just uncanny, the similarities of the... And
Well, how
then it
fun is
also
that to go find out what works?
Yeah, right?
Gosh.
I appreciate it.
I bet. Okay, let's see here. What did you say to smell with the pepper?
Oh, yeah, the white Tahoe cookies as well.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then the rosemary is really fun to try with a fuely, more gassy strain. And it really does bring out those undertones that you don't necessarily recognize when you're smelling something that's like sour or diesely. But it does. It opens up your just the different scents that you're going to pick up.
Next level. This
Fun,
is
right?
amazing. Yes, fun. Man.
And it's a cool way to make an evening out of having your cannabis.
Yes.
Especially like I said, when we're all going to be at home more, just because it's the winter and
Okay.
we're
So again,
drawing
we've got
in
lemons and pepper and lavender and rosemary.
and there's so many
What's the
terpenes
other
that
one?
you can go and explore. So this is
Oh, yeah.
cloves,
Okay.
and so the cloves, those are really representative of the humulene, which is a second terpene in the White Tahoe cookies.
Can you hand me the chart there? And I'll
Sure.
hold it up and demonstrate it in the. I've put this up before in one of the other episodes, but this is from the Humboldt Infusions chart, and I will put a close up on that.
Awesome.
But humulene, huh? And that, if I look at the chart, that'll help me to understand a little bit more about that. Hop, sage, ginseng, earthy wood.
Mm-hmm. That earthy spice.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I'm thoroughly, I'm flabbergasted. I'm almost speechless at how amazing this has been. This is so fun.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been
Well-
a fun way to explore things that I've done at the dinners, but in a more intimate setting, and sharing with people. I think the recipes will be a really fun way to connect people to.
How many
to their
recipes are
flower.
there?
We'll have one for all of our strains. And this one actually has the recipe for the
You
torte
guys are
and for the whipped cream with it
blowing
too.
it up. That is amazing. And you have your own matches. I mean, I haven't seen matches before.
I really prefer to smoke with matches over lighters, if possible. Well, yeah, you did ask me about partnerships, and genetics is a big passion of mine, and wanting to find different cultivars that thrive on our land. I mean, there's the point of needing to work with what the market demands and having a higher THC percentage strain that comes out. But when the breeding is only focused on that and not on the full spectrum of, the flavor profile and all of the different aspects of the diversity in the strains, you lose something. And so it's really important to me to be able to be relevant in the market with the majority of our cultivars and the majority of what we're growing. But we have a portion of our farm that we dedicate to research and development. We are working with Billy Ellison, Botany Billy, to do, we've had a weather station on our farm for 2 years now. And so we can see all of the wind, all of the temperature swings, the rainfall. We have 3 monitors in our soil to be able to see, when exactly the plants have stress. And Billy has been very, involved in helping us with, be very careful with how we use our water, because cultivators have a forbearance period in the middle of the year, and we really need to be aware of how we're using our water and being able to look at the weather station also is a really neat way to find similarities with our neighbors when we're discussing appellations and identifying the different unique microclimates in our region. I believe that the broader appellations will develop, hopefully with legacy farmers' influence. It's going to take people organizing in their communities and valuing the regional marketing because the appellations will not necessarily work for everyone. Because when you think about it long term, when you develop an appellation petition, it is incredibly expensive just to develop. You know, the
Let's-
application itself is less because they
Is
change
this
the
part
requirements.
of SP 67?
So SB 67 was a Senate bill that was advocated by many different organizations to promote a terroir-based appellations program, and it's very important to be able to remember that the appellations program, while it doesn't necessarily work for every farm, working together with your community and finding a way to organize and create continuity in the regions, it should be something that's developed by the farmers. The maps specifically need to be developed by the farmers because who better to designate and understand where these separations in microclimate are than the farmers themselves. Every farmer that I know that grows outside, I think they're working together as a community, and then the farmers designating their sub-appellations underneath the broader geographical boundaries that these appellations can designate will be a very strong way for small producers and independent producers to showcase the different strengths they have, what cultivars are thriving in their area, and just their standards and practices that have been developed over such a long period of time. But it does take work, and it takes working with your neighbors and people that are already bootstrapped, doing a lot of farm work and admin work and metric. And so it's a big ask, I think, to get people to want to take on more work when there isn't a clear path of it benefiting them. But it's a long-term play. And I think there are enough people in the space that see this long-term play of cannabis appellations as a value. I would really love to see the community of independent producers come together to create these maps.
What's being done for that to happen?
There's a lot of organization on the local level. The Humboldt County Growers Alliance is working with the Humboldt County Business Development Center, and
They're right downtown in Eureka, aren't they?
yes, they are. They're the sister
That's really cool.
company for
I've
HCGA.
talked to them before, so that they're involved with this. That's great.
Yeah, they're involved, and myself and my friend Mohammed, we have been developing maps for the Willow Creek Cannabis Alliance along with all of our board and members, but it takes a lot of efforts on security. So first it took just the basic organizational development. Then we created a non-disclosure agreement between ourselves and the map makers. And now we're moving towards having all of our members have a release of liability for the alliance, and think about, as a cannabis farmer, putting your farm on a map and the complications for security that could present. So it's really important that we take security to the highest measures and make sure that any kind of sharing of our maps is something that's done where everyone feels comfortable, and it should be that way for all farmers that create these maps. Do the due diligence, create your organization, have a non-disclosure and make sure that whatever information you're willing to disclose with people, you're able to protect and hold, and release when your whole membership says that it's time. Because it's not just one person's information, it is a community's information and intellectual property. So it became a lot more complex. You can't just pin everyone's farm on a map like you would like.
It also seems, though, to be able to provide some protection for what is a domain that exists and should not be able to be penetrated. I mean, at a certain point, it almost seems like boundary lines of property or whatnot, that this is what's here and this is what we do there and this is what only we get to do here.
Well, and for the petition, for appellations, you have to create a narrative where you describe your geographical boundaries like a clock. You start at one point and work your way around, and then end at the same starting point. And as Willow Creek Cannabis Alliance, we've gone through and we've described our geographical boundaries, but then we always come back to we want to be as inclusive of our community as possible, which is the beauty of appellations. There aren't political boundaries. So we share a community with a lot of Western Trinity farmers. And we don't have a lot of Trinity involvement right now, but we do have some, and they're very involved. And it's wonderful to be able to share that community with our Trinity neighbors that otherwise would have a political boundary that separated us, but we all share that commonality of Willow Creek being our center, but our boundaries are vast. We go all the way to Wichipec, and we have Nat from the Humboldt Seed Company, and his farm is way out in Orleans.
Another person whose name keeps coming up in the episodes.
yeah, and it's great to be able to connect with our community in that way, and be able to all find commonality and hopefully bring in more of the farmers in our geographical boundaries, because we want people to be involved if they want, and showcase how it benefits everyone to work together and build something together.
And that it brings such humble gratitude to my heart to be able to have you here today. And that's what my intent is for all of this, is to be able to hear what Linsey has to say, and for other people to come and say other things that they want to share. And I just, I have had an experience that's been beyond just an interview, but I've learned things and had an experience that I've never had before. This
Awesome.
has just been an amazing episode.
Awesome. Thank you.
I went ahead and rolled a blend of several of the strains that you brought. And what do you think about using multiple cannabinoids?
I think it's awesome to be able to find what works for you. You can build up a tolerance to certain strains if you smoke them a lot. It's always good to take a little break and then try again, see what's working. When I make RSO and anything for medicine, I like to use a minimum of 10 strains if I can. Get a really vast array of cannabinoids. And I like to do a lot of seeds and pheno hunting in a small portion of our garden, so that I can try to see a few other strains that we might integrate into future seasons. And so that gives me a lot to work with when it comes to RSO making and using it for
salves.
Rick Simpson oil, RSO. That's what I am calling the concentrates that I'm developing. But really, Rick Simpson oil was made with a different kind of solvent. And what I'm using is an organic grape alcohol. So it's a really very pure way to extract all of the cannabinoids and distill them and maintain the terpenes. And so I think what I'd like to start calling it is a full spectrum concentrate. And it is made with organic alcohol. So it is really, really clean.
Wow, I like the sound of that. That has a real tone to it.
You can use it for topicals. You can use it for edibles.
Oh, is that right?
It's great to use as a full spectrum substitute for
Okay.
a lot of things that are made with distillate.
Amazing. Well, we were going to incorporate Thanksgiving into this episode, being that that's when I'm going to air it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have folks you'd like to give a shout out to or have gratitude and thanks for?
Definitely. Well, we've given props to Up North a bunch, but definitely them again. And then my marketing director, Nicole Riggs, she is amazing. I'm so grateful to have her on my team. And then as far as doing the infused dinners and food pairings, I've been working with Kara Peaches for so long, and she has Food Flower Future. So if you're interested in checking out our future infusions and dinners and events, well, now we're doing Zoom events where it's a guided dinner, so it's like a cooking show basically, but you can incorporate different, there's infused olive oil, so you can dose up your food as high or low as you want. And yeah, Food Flower Future.
What a wonderful alternative to smoking.
For those that are kind of curious, especially at the first event that I went to that we sponsored was the one I told you about, the high dining event in Joshua Tree.
Oh, right.
There were probably, I would say about half of the people at the event that were not experienced with cannabis at all. Some people that, had the journalists that I sat across from had never smoked, but was being brave and wanted to have the experience. And so throughout the course of the meal, which was about 2 hours, she ingested, I think, around 5 to 7 milligrams. And it's just a really gentle way to experience cannabis for the first time if you haven't before.
I have compulsion issues with eating, so sometimes I feel like it'd be very simple for me to overdose.
Yeah, and that's a really important part of having someone that's curating the meal. They really check in with each person and make sure, okay, maybe your gift bag contains, 3 infused beverages that have 2.5 to 5 milligrams each. Well, the most amazing thing is that the balance between the THC and the CBD is something that you can always have there for you. So say you're having the tendency to maybe have too much THC and feel like you're too high. Well, you can always then counterbalance that with CBD. So especially for people that...
That is the first time I have heard that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So especially for people that are new to cannabis, the rule is start slow, start low. So just small amounts.
Slow
and low. And then
low.
if you, what to do if you overdo it is CBD. And even people that I just, Dank Duchess is such a psychedelic warrior, and she just can smoke these amazing amounts of hash, OOs, she calls them, and you can tell, if she's doing a live feed, sometimes she'll just stop and take some puffs off of a CBD joint instead, and it really does balance it because THC will affect you really fast, so it creates a spike, especially when you're smoking.
Uh-huh.
But then if you bolster it with some amounts of CBD, especially in edible form, instead of having this really steep high right away, it creates more of this gentle bell curve. I used to take edibles for sleep all the time. I would take 5 milligrams or so, but continually wake up at like 3:33, right in the middle of the night, and it would wear off so quickly. And then I started to incorporate a small amount of CBD, and it would make it so that it would last throughout the whole night.
This is some CBD tincture that Nick Erickson brought me from Full Moon Farms.
Awesome.
And he brought such a big gift box that I even forgot to mention it while he was here. So
Nick is such a great guy, yeah. Such a community-minded guy.
Could I just add it to my wine?
You could. And so is it based in oil or is it based in alcohol?
I would say oil because I have been using it and not tasted any alcohol.
Okay, yeah. So then I would recommend, especially if you're wanting it. So this is going to be um, it'll take a little bit longer to react, because when it's an oil base, it will go through your liver and be digested. So you can expect that in about an hour and a half, you'll be able to notice a difference from it,
interesting.
because that's where it's going to go through. But alcohol-based tinctures will go directly into your bloodstream and be much faster acting.
Okay.
So say like someone
Would that
is
be
trying.
something you'd want to maybe use under your tongue?
You could.
about
You
with
could
the
put it
oil?
under your tongue if it's that could be a little abrasive. So you could just drink it and it would still go. It'd be a lot faster acting. And so for people that are using, a high THC or something for seizures, you wouldn't want to use oil. You would want to use alcohol because it's a much faster acting way to create the anti-convulsion. Or smoke.
I'm not sure. It might be alcohol. I'm really not sure. I didn't
No,
ask.
it looks like olive oil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What I was going to say is, okay, so I'm a regular smoker. If I didn't smoke and did have just a dosage of this, which I haven't been patient enough to take in the time to do that. But what I would like to do is in the morning have some CBD and wait an hour and a half. And what effects would I expect to notice?
Everyone's different,
Uh-huh.
and based on your tolerance level, and what strength the tincture itself is, will make a big difference. Depending on. So for me, it gives me a very uplifting feeling. It's not sedating, but there's this, commonality of saying, oh, it's non-psychoactive, which psychoactive to me is something that is used a lot with THC, high THC, but I mean the CBD does affect you in some way, just not in the same way, and that's why I always think it's important for people to try it out. Low and slow, see
Low
what
and
works.
slow. I
Don't
like
just
it.
dive head first and take 50 milligrams. Start with 5. Start
Sure.
with 2. Microdosing is very effective too. I really enjoy microdosing with 2 milligrams of THC, and I think that it gives me just a little bit of relaxation at the end of the day. And I don't ingest edibles for sleep anymore. But for people that enjoy it, you can build a tolerance really quickly, and so it's good to take a day off here and there and get your tolerance back down a little.
Sure.
Or half
As
the
with
day.
anything,
Half
I
the
think
day.
the moderation, using something in moderation, will help you to appreciate its applications.
Totally.
Well, as well, I have many people I would like to thank, and I've found it fascinating that many of the guests that have been on this show to this point are all reaching out to one another and working on the same pages to write the same story, and I see a real united. It's just a great community effort that I see happening, and it's a privilege to be a part of it. I am taking such pride in speaking with everyone that has been kind enough to, thank you very much.
Oh, thank
I'm
you
grateful
for your support
for you
for
opening
independent
your
farmers.
vault of the mind. I mean, you have such a great wealth of information, and thanks so much for sharing it with us. I want to thank.
Anytime.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming to see your farm, and I'm really looking forward to all of the things that are transpiring in the future. Very many things. So again, I want to give thanks to Golden State Chronic. We wouldn't have the show here without them. This is brought to you by Golden State Chronic, sponsored by New World Water. I want to thank Fernando at Sun Valley Floral Group, and let folks know that you can find employment in the county when you first get here with a criminal record and THC in your system. So if you needed a job to land when you get here, you can go see Fernando at Sun Valley Floral Group. Many others I'd like to extend Thanksgiving thanks to my best friend Doug Kern, and actually everyone that is supporting what we're doing here. We're going to be really continuing to do what we're doing on the level that we're doing it. I've got it where I want it. Now we can all just use this platform for what it is best intended for. And I want to give you another chance to thank anyone, or I also want to extend thanks to your partner Ryan. Not
That's
only
what-
for
that's
rolling,
what I was going to say,
Not,
for
not
sure.
only for rolling, I want to partake one last joint of yours before you go, and we'll say goodbye with this. I have a couple of small gifts for you, but I'm sorry I kind of interrupted you there. Let's see here. I have a couple of small things here for you. This is a little wall hanging there, and I used one of Carl's stickers to cover up the price
Awesome.
tag.
Oh, thank you. Can I
Sure.
open it
yes,
now?
please
Okay.
do. And
Flora DeVita sticker. Well, and given the opportunity and talking about community, I definitely want to give tons of respect and love to the Redwood Roots crew. Everyone working over there has just been doing
I pulled
such
my phone
a
out of my
stellar
pocket
job.
yesterday, and I was live with them somehow.
Awesome. Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you.
Sure.
Wow.
Well, thanks for being here, and I hope that that'll
Amazing.
hang somewhere to bring.
Oh, it
happiness.
definitely will.
Here's
We'll
a-
put
here's
this
a,
up at the farm.
Here's an ounce of the Kauai cocktail tea that we
Oh,
have,
thank you.
and you can take some of that home with you
It's
as well.
delicious.
And if you'd like, I've got a couple of shirts for you from Lantern Farms in Mendocino.
Stellar. Well, thanks so much, Ann.
Sure.
Aw, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been awesome talking.
The
And,
best thing about
um,
those shirts is notice
Let's see.
the underneath the paw of the lion there.
Oh, yeah. It's a camp helicopter. Smushing the camp helicopter. Thank goodness those aren't flying anymore.
So, yeah, anyhow.
Sweet. Yeah, and thank you for, the work that you're doing and putting in for the community. It's great to highlight all of these, independent farms and producers and people that are supporting the community and coming together to do the work.
I am so humble. It seems like when I watch myself in the editing and I see myself say that I'm being, I don't know. It's so surreal to me. I really am, you guys. Thank you so much. This is going so well. And just wait till you see what's coming. I've got some collaborations with things that you'd be surprised to expect.
You'll have to have Chris on the show too now that you guys have connected. Chris of Redwood Roots.
Oh yes, those
Uh-huh.
plans are happening.
All right.
The neat thing is that we've got other awesome, wonderful guests coming on next week. You can expect to see Linsey from Native Humboldt.
Wonderful.
And the following week that we're going to have will be Season, talking about the new trellis
Amazing.
grant at Five Sisters Farms. So it's wonderful to have a little succession of female balance. All of the guests to this point have been male. And we are going to resume with guests in the community that are at the same caliber as the guests that you've been seeing lately. Okay, well, thanks one more time. And,
Yeah, happy
appreciate
Thanksgiving.
It. Yes, happy
Give
Thanksgiving to
thanks.
you. Yes, and praise. Yes, I. Until we see one another again, stay tuned.